Hello, and welcome back to the Emotionally Booked podcast, where we talk about the books that we're reading and talk about how they are affecting us and how they emotionally bring just that something a little extra out. And I'm so excited to talk about the book we have today, so welcome and thank you for joining me. I am your host, Heather, and if you've seen me around on the Emotionally Baked podcast, same person, same place. Emotionally Booked is part of the Emotionally Baked podcast network, where we have baked, booked, and blooming. And I hope you try out the other ones if you're just here for a podcast about a book review. Thank you so much for joining me. I love reading and I love sharing what I read, and I just love all things about reading that bring me joy. So welcome and thank you. If you like baking, check out the Baked podcast, where we talk about our emotions while baking, and the Blooming podcast, where we talk about just kind of diving deeper into how we've bloomed through it all, how we've come out on the other side of all these emotions that we're talking about and dealing with. So those are the 3 podcast sections of the Emotionally Baked network. So I hope you check them out. So today's podcast is about, I'm so excited. I want to do like a drum roll. Is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Okay, so this is not gonna be spoilery. I don't want to give away any huge major plot spoilers, but if you've not heard of this book, where have you been? No, just kidding. No, this was given to me by my lovely friend Kristen, and I started reading this book, and I didn't realize at first that I was listening to, I should have known, but I was listening to our reading An Octopus Talking. At the very beginning, it says day 1299 of my captivity. And I was like, what are we? And then, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be listening to an octopus. This is so cool. Like, this is so neat to be in the head of an octopus. And I didn't know if the other main character, the lady Tova, was going to be able to hear them, but it's definitely just like 2 different POVs, and it's not like fantasy. She can't hear the octopus talk, which, but all right. So and I feel like this podcast is timely because the movie came out on Netflix. Remarkably Bright Creatures came out on Netflix, and I'm going to also give a review for that as well in comparison to book and all the things. So when I picked up this book, or when my friend gave it to me, I didn't pick it up for a while because, as you know, I do love fantasy. Fantasy is like that's my top genre. And I thought, well, I don't know. I kind of take my time with other genres. I'll get to it when I get to it kind of feeling. And I feel so bad I didn't get to it sooner. And so I did have it on my Libby app. If you don't know what Libby is an application that you can find on your phone that you can connect your library to wherever you are. And they have free books, audiobooks, magazines, all the things that you can basically like check out like a library. And you have it on your phone or your Kindle. So that's fun. Okay, so into the book today. I will say, so what I did was I put this book already. I had heard about it very lightly on the grapevine. And so I put it on my Libby app, and I put the audiobook because I heard the audiobook was really great. So I put it on there, and then my friend gifted it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, so I read or do I listen? I wasn't quite sure what I should do. So I decided to start reading. So I started reading, and I was like, I really wonder what the voice sounds like, the voice of the octopus, because it was just so interesting to hear this perspective of an octopus. And then magically my Libby had the book available, and I was like, yes, I can do it at the same time. I will say this is the first time I've ever done that, where I've had the book and the audiobook at the same time and did it together. And it was so fun. It was so fun. And hearing the voice of the octopus was just so, it just brought another aspect to the reading that it just like brightened it up, just because especially like if you I don't know, like animals, you always wonder like, what do they sound like? Especially when you do a lot of fantasy genres, like, I wonder what that dragon sounds like. I wonder what that, other creature sounds like. This is fun. This was so fun to hear the voice of it. I don't know. I have to look on. I don't know who voiced it on the one I listened to. I don't remember. But anyways, it was just fantastic to listen to and everything. And I really liked that it switched back and forth between, the basic storyline is that there is a older woman who has had some tragedy in her life happen. Her name is Tova, and she goes to work as a retiree as a cleaning lady in an aquarium, small town aquarium. I believe it's on the West Coast. I believe it's on the West Coast. It looked like it was either Maine or I can't remember. Oh, Pacific. Yeah. It's on the Pacific coast. So, and she befriends an octopus, and, and I'll say like, be friends, because she's on the outside of a tank looking in, and he's on the inside looking out, and how much of that friendship, is perceived. And it's just really kind of special to watch, from her perspective, kind of like what he's going through on the inside of the tank, and then his perspective of what she's going through from his side. And it's just it's so intriguing and so fun to just watch the story play out and to see how they, interact with each other, and how their stories intertwine, and how they end up helping each other. And it's just so sweet, and it's so endearing, and it's so special. And I will say, my mom came to visit. My mom is a super fast reader, and she can get through it like anything. And I said, Mom, you have to read this. I said, this is coming out as a movie, and you just have to read this book. It is so good. It's so, it's one of those that will leave you smiling at the end, because it just wraps up so nicely in a bow, and everything just kind of like, just the culmination just brings you. Have I mentioned it before? I love a happy ending. When the endings are tragic or sad, or that really doesn't do well for me. I get so emotional about it. But when it's a happy ending, it just warms my heart. And I like how when things are wrapped up so nice and neatly, and just kind of have like all the little special aspects to it, is my door just opened by itself. I think it's because I should have left it open, because I am sitting in a alcove it's between my hallway and my basement, and it's like this little teeny, I've made a little bookish area, a little teeny library in my basement alcove-ish thing. And there's one air return in here that is for like this whole area. And if I have one door shut and the other, like, it causes like, and when the air comes on, it causes like a suction. So I have to leave the doors open, but I shut them so that I could record. So it didn't it could be quiet. But that didn't help. The air came on and it suctioned both doors. I don't know if you heard this one sucked closed and this one went open. It's just the whole physics of the thing. Oy. Anyway, that was that. I don't even know if anybody cared. Anyways, so I asked my mom, I said, you have to read this book. This book is just so good and you'll love it. It's so, the storyline and the characters and happy ending, you'll love it. And she finished this book while she was visiting in a matter of days. Like, she was just like, she couldn't put it down. She's like, this is so good, Heather. And I was like, see, I told you. So very, just a very refreshing change of pace of a book. I definitely give it 5 stars. This is a 5-star read for me. And not only 5 stars for the content, because it was just very, it just made me feel good, happy through, even though the characters were going through a lot of different ups and downs, and there's a lot that you deal with in later life, and there's a lot of things, and the tragedies that our main character was going through. There's a lot to go through for her, and a lot, for her to kind of just traverse, but to see how she could be helped by the unexpected friendship of an octopus was just very heartwarming. And that's what kind of like really brought me a smile to my face, because it just goes to show that you can find connection anywhere, anywhere really, to help you through your things. She just was a night worker at an aquarium, and this octopus just helped her, helped her so much. And it's so unexpected. And it's like, you think in your own life, like, how can I, learn from the unexpected? Honestly, like, she learned from something unexpected. Like, how would you expect to be changed by an octopus? But she was, and that's just crazy. And yeah, and so it just makes you think, like, how can you be changed by the unexpected? Like, how can something unexpected in your life help you? That was like one big takeaway that I got, and I loved it so much. I loved that it was just so precious and so sweet, and I just loved it. And so my non-spoiler review is that if you want something that is dual POV, so octopus and main character, actually, I don't know if there was another POV. Hold on. Was there another POV? Actually, the chapters aren't actually written, like, it doesn't say chapter 1, chapter 2. It just has like a title. So I didn't actually, now I can't remember if there might be. Yeah, there's another perspective too. So there's a couple perspectives. So there's 2 perspectives, human, and then 1 animal. So if that's kind of like, you like those books that have multiple perspectives, I 100% recommend. And I kind of do, I really do, because I am an ADD person, and switching back and forth doesn't bother me. And just, do I like a single POV? Sure. I do. But I don't mind a dual, triple, whatever POV either. So if that bothers you to go switch back and forth between people, maybe not, but listen to the audiobook. I think it would change your mind. So this is one where I feel like I have so many different perspectives on, because not only did I have the actual book, I had the audiobook, and now I've seen the movie. I did watch the movie over the weekend. It is definitely such a treat, like listening to the audiobook and then having this, and non-spoilery review on the movie. A lot of times when we have books that get made into movies, there is this feeling of they're not going to do the book justice, because the book is so good. the book was, so good, and it just was a chef's kiss, and you're just like, please don't ruin the book, or don't ruin it, like hopefully it turns out. And so the main character, Tova, was played by Sally Field. No one better, like amazing. No notes. Like she was just amazing as the main character. I recognize the octopus's voice in the movie. I can't pinpoint. I can't say, I didn't watch the credits. I can't say who it is, but I recognize the voice. I was like, oh, I recognize who that is. But so the voice actor for the octopus, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I loved it so much. And I felt like it really did follow the book wonderfully. And I don't feel like it took away. I don't feel like it didn't veer off into one, it didn't like stray from the main plot. It didn't, it really kept to the integrity of the book. And it really showed that fabulous perspective between both the animal and the human. And I love that so much. I wondered how they were going to do that. Like, I wondered, how are they going to be? I do believe the octopus was either CGI. I don't think it was real, but it looked very real. Like, it was very fun. It was very fun to kind of get both of those. I will say, since I knew the ending of the book, since I knew the twist at the end, and I was waiting to see how they would make, yes, because there is a twist. I was waiting to see how they would incorporate that into the movie. And I will say that the movie was harder to catch the twist than the book. So when I was reading the book, and because there's a lot of internal monologue from both all the characters. And so you do get a lot of information, because, you're basically listening to their thoughts, and you're listening to what they're thinking and saying and all the things. And so I was able to catch on to kind of what was happening. I was like, oh, I think this was going to happen. I think this is going to happen. And I was able to catch on to that a lot quicker in the book because of all the little key things. And I was trying to see in the movie, like, how are they going to do this? Because and we know, like, in movies, they can't have like internal monologues spoken out loud. It's not like a soap opera where, like sometimes in a soap opera where they stand there and they have those monologues to themselves, it's not, you can't do that in movies all the time. So, I was wondering, like, how are they going to do this? Like, how is that going to go on? And so they did give a couple of, the clues. And my husband watched the movie with me. He hadn't read the book. And I was trying to find in the movie how they were giving clues to the twist at the end, because I feel like if they had followed exactly all the internal monologue of everybody that was going along in the story, that you would have caught on immediately and been like, oh, that's, whatever. And I think in books, like, it's doable because we were jumping around from this person to that person to this, animal, all this. So it was harder to catch on because you're flipping so much. And so in a movie, obviously that's not how they do a movie. And it was interesting to see how they kind of threw in a little bit of the clues. And I did look at my husband and I'm like, did he catch on? Did he catch on? Did he catch on? And he never did until, like, it was totally revealed at the end. And he was like, what? And then I pointed them out to him through the movie. Did you see this? Did you see this? And he was like, oh, okay. So, and it was fun to kind of watch him to kind of discover that, and to kind of like, oh, that's so cool. So he really, truly enjoyed the movie as he had no background, no nothing, none of it. And I didn't tell him anything about it either. And so he really enjoyed it from like a lone person's perspective. He was like, yes, 5 stars, totally. And me coming from reading and listening to the book, movie, 5 stars. Like, it was amazing. I think this is a audiobook, book, movie that has definitely kept my top rating, and I'm super pleased, and I'm super happy about it. So that is, I love that, because you don't find that a lot. You don't find that you get a nice, everything is done so well. So very, very cool. Very, very excited about that. So if you haven't read this, if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't listened to the audiobook, I recommend all three. I do, just like always though, the book kind of gives you a lot more in-depth understanding of kind of the characters and things. But the movie did a really great job. And in the time that they had, it did a really great job in portraying all of that. So I really highly recommend that. So if you want to feel good, breath of fresh air, and something I feel like will just give you just I think it'll give you a fresh perspective on how unexpected things can bring us joy, and how unexpected things can help us in life. And I think this would be just a perfect step away to get that. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this review of Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Highly recommend, and hope you do take the time for this one. It was truly amazing. All right, friends, have a good one, and we'll see you later on the Emotionally Baked, Booked, and Blooming Podcast Network. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.